Hello and welcome to another episode of Unique Professions. Today we are going to explore music therapy. Now I love music. I love all sorts of genres. I love sitting, relaxing, listening to music. It is my happy place. So music therapy is such an interesting career, and we have Rachel Hicks from Attuned Health. Hello Rachel.
Hello David, thank you so much for having me along today.
No problems. Now before we get into the music therapy, how did your love of music start?
I was introduced to playing instruments in primary school, and that's, I think, where the journey started for me. I played the flute all throughout school, and that was my first degree at university as well, a music degree. And I think I've just, same as you, listening to the music that, I have lots of fond memories associated with, brings me lots of joy. It's really a space of comfort for me, I think, and playing instruments as well does the same.
And with music therapy, how did you find that? So how did you go from this love of music to music therapy? That's quite my thing.
Yeah, well, it wasn't initially. We had someone, when I was studying flute, at uni, we had someone come and give a talk on music therapy, and I was like, wow, that sounds incredible, amazing, but not for me. I'm like classical performance focused. Yep. But then as I kept going down that track and went further into it, for me, something was just missing. And I was teaching flute, I was doing bits of performances and really working hard on that, and I was also a part-time support worker as well, mainly with children with disabilities. And I had a friend studying music therapy at the time, and I loved listening to what she was doing and what she was learning, and I just found it so interesting. So I thought, wow, I think this might be the missing piece of the puzzle for me. And so I auditioned for the course and gave it a crack and learnt all about it. And here we are. And it's honestly the most wonderful, wonderful profession.
Mm-hmm. So what is music therapy for people who don't know?
Yes. Yeah. I get that question asked a lot.
Oh, yeah. It was always going to come.
Yes, definitely. So music therapy is a research and evidence-based allied health profession. So it requires a registered music therapist to work with their client or group of clients, if it's a group session, on personalised, individualised goals. So we work with our clients and create goals to help to maximise their health and well-being. So that's basically what music therapy is. And to be a registered music therapist, you need to have done an accredited course. So that's a Masters of Music Therapy, either at the University of Melbourne or Western Sydney University. Those are the two places that offer it in Australia at the moment.
And with music therapy, you work with quite a lot of aged care clients?
Yeah.
And I assume a lot of those clients would have dementia or, that's probably the most common.
It is.
Do you find, what is their reaction when you bring music perhaps from their generation? I'm thinking, there's no point putting today's music on, but 1940s, 50s, kind of like the wartime era kind of music. What is their reaction when they hear that?
Often it is met with so much joy and surprise when you play music from their good old days, and especially if they haven't heard it in a while. Aged care facilities, definitely the ones that I've worked in, are really great in that they know the kind of music that their residents like, and so they might have it playing in a common area. But there's something really special about music therapy where you're able to go in and work with that client and learn not just the general songs from their era, but really their favourite ones, their specific ones that, they might have played at their wedding, or that was a song that they used to dance to with their children. Those ones that have really, really important memories attached to it, and you can play that with them and kind of enter into the world that they're in.
It's also about evoking memories as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
Like you just said, maybe a song of, when they first got married, the first song, first dance song, or whatever it might be. Because it's all about muscle memory as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So we know that music and songs often have memories attached to them, and so it's getting those memories to come up, and often it can create a sense of safety and familiarity and bring about a heap of joy when you're kind of reliving those memories, you know, when you're thinking about them and imagining yourself back in that space. Yeah.
And it's also quite interesting because I'm thinking like, when I'm about not 80 or 90 years old, listen to some of my music now, or, even though my taste has changed,
Yes.
for the better or worse, I don't know. But, with stuff I was just doing when I was 18, 17, compared to what I listen to now. I mean, really quite an interesting thing if music therapy carries on, for many years to come.
Yes, yeah. So there's this thing called the reminiscence bump or the reminiscence bubble kind of thing, and it's from our teens, 20s, that kind of age, and that's what we tend to remember when we get older, and bits of our memories start to get a little bit weaker. And so I personally think it's a great idea to have a playlist of songs from that era that you can use later on, when we are when our memories might start to struggle a little bit, and we can have those songs kind of ready to go. Yeah.
And I know music therapy also works in early education, children.
Yes.
What are the benefits for children to be exposed to? I'm going to assume, probably language, helping with language.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the key ones, and a very important aspect of music therapy with children. A lot of work with children and all people in music therapy, it's very specific to that person and what they need to achieve, what they want to achieve, and what their loved ones really want to see them achieve as well, and want them to experience. So with the children I work with, definitely language is definitely a goal, and we work through that through song, through singing and familiar songs, and really trying to encourage them to access different parts of language that they might be able to. Yeah.
I also know that Attuned Health is part of the NIDAS.
NDIS.
That's the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Attuned Health does have NDIS clients, which is, I think it's such a wonderful thing. Nothing, no scheme, nothing really is perfect. But I know people from other countries that have come here because we have such a thing as NDIS, and they see us as very fortunate that people who might need that extra support and extra funding are able to access it. Yeah, so we have quite a few clients through the NDIS that we support.
Also, what's some of your favourite, or what was your earliest memory when you were started out as a music therapist that really spoke to you and said, this is what I want to do?
Wow. I think it would have to be potentially in one of my placements when I was still a student. So I have a few different placements, and we work with, we're supported by different music therapists, and we follow them along, and then we get more involved in the process as we continue our studies. But in one of my placements, I was at a primary school, and there were some children that I was working with, and some were non-verbal, and there was one particular child, and he started to sing along to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and none of the staff knew that he could do that. And seeing that, it's just, we might think it's just a little thing, like twinkle, twinkle, little star, making an noise is what he was doing. It might seem a very small thing, but for him it was incredible. And just to see that and be a part of that and witness that was really beautiful for me. And I think that was one of the many moments where I was like, wow, this is what I really want to do. I want to provide these environments where people can just flourish. I only do so much, and it's really providing a space where they're able to really extend themselves as far as they can.
When you go and see a client for the first time, what is that process for you? What is that? How do you build that kind of rapport and find out what their needs are?
Yeah. Depending on the person, it may include talking to their family or their support people. And when I go into a new session, it's a huge open slate. I may have bits of information about what music they like. You know, they may love the Beatles. You know, Hey Jude may be their favourite song. But I come in with a lot of gear, a lot of different instruments, and it's very open, and I just try lots of different things. You know, generally it's great to I like having a bit of a starting point. So if they do love Hey Jude, we might start out playing Hey Jude and just I see their responses to that. And it takes, depending on the person, it can take a few sessions to really build the rapport, because music therapy is a very relationship-based therapy. And so having that therapeutic rapport is so important. And I think music creates a great space to be able to build that rapport, because it's not just two people and, you know, just themselves. You've got the music in between. They have a connection to the music, you have a connection to the music, so you can kind of use that as a bridge to help that therapeutic rapport kind of come along. Yeah.
Do you find there's a different approach with non-verbal clients to verbal clients? Do you find there's different strategies that you use that you might, let's say, you might use here, but you won't use with other clients?
I approach it in the same way, whether they're verbal or non-verbal. My output is quite the same, but what I focus on really depends on their goals. So whether it's you know, a physical mobility goal, then I might bring out different instruments. We might try different interventions. But if it is a language goal, I might use different language-specific interventions. So it depends mainly on what their goals are. Yeah.
Are those goals set by the client, or perhaps the parents, or other?
It's often a combination. Yeah, often a combination. Sometimes clients are fully able to participate in the goal-making process, and they're able to say, you know, what they want out of music therapy, which is wonderful. And then other times it's the family, really, you know, especially when it's pediatric clients, the parents might have really great ideas about what they want out of their child from music therapy, what they want for their child. And other times it's talking to speechies and OTs and physios or school support staff or aged care staff. And it's a whole collaboration process with the client and with, you know, no one lives in isolation, so there's always people surrounding us in some form, you know, and often it's a big collaboration with those people as well to try and figure out what music therapy can do to help them. Yeah.
Now, if you were to create a playlist for yourself in the future, what songs would you pick?
Great question.
Yeah.
I listened.
Maybe pick
3 songs.
Yeah.
I reckon. So, Love Story by Taylor Swift. That was a big high school banger for me. I think maybe some like Hilary Duff, like, you know, I'd have good memories with my family listening to those songs. And then probably, just to throw something completely different in there as well, probably a classical flute piece, like one that I played, you know, in school or in uni that has really good memories associated with it. Yeah.
Yes, well, very different ones, basically. All right, we'll play this game. What would I pick? 3 songs of 3 musicians. Definitely Nick Cave. Back in the day, I used to love Metallica. So, Yep. And high school, Eminem was really popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, music tastes change and
they
evolve.
do. Yes.
And also that's part of nostalgia as well. I mean, going off a little bit sidetrack, I noticed that a lot of concerts these days, they're all like, you know, bands that are from the 80s or the 90s making comeback tours or Women's a Pension tour.
Because we love it, don't we? We love, you know, kind of reliving again those fond memories that we had. So if, you know, we went and I was with a group and Smokey, the band is, I think, coming to Perth, and I was with this group and this lady was saying that Smokey's coming and she's so excited to see them again. So, you know, for her that was such an important memory. So, you know, being able to relive that is just wonderful. And with music, we're so lucky we can do that, you know, because we can't always, you know, it won't be exactly the same. And we can't always recreate other memories that we might have of our past, like other fun memories. But if there's a great, you know, music concert, if they happen to come back, you know, it's fantastic that we can kind of relive that a little bit. Yeah.
And with music, going back to music therapy
now,
we digress there. But what are some of your things that you have put into your practice at the start like when you were first starting, that has evolved?
I think that is a great question. I think the way that I approach clients has evolved, and kind of the expectations that I have. I think when I first started out, I'd only seen a few people in my placements, and I was yet to experience, and I still am yet to experience, all that music therapy is and all that it can do. But I think I had some ideas of myself as a music therapist and for my clients and what I wanted it to look like. And I think in reflecting on those early sessions, I might not have realised it at the time, but I did have ideas of what I wanted it to look like, and I was, in a way, kind of pushing that a bit. And I think now as I was saying before, like when I meet someone new, it is an open slate, and I try and keep that openness throughout my journey with them and that creativity space open, because we may be working in a particular way for months, doing a particular set of interventions and really working on those goals and working in a specific way on those goals, but they may come in one session with something completely different, and I now try and be really open to just picking up on those little cues where they may be kind of edging at something, and now having the confidence, I guess, to take a chance on that.
Yep.
If they're starting to do something in a different way, I'll be like, oh, okay, let's try that. I wouldn't have, decided to do it that way, or use this instrument in this particular way, or use this song for this particular purpose. But let's give it a go and let's see what can happen, because I think, honestly, the possibilities are endless.
And why are they so important to you?
I think I have two answers popping up in my mind. One is that people have such unique experiences and such a unique relationship with music, that if I try and have some sort of expectation about what their experience with music would look like, I don't think that's quite fair on the client or on their music therapy journey, because each person brings something completely unique, whether it be, different artists or whether it be a different kind of creativity, because I truly believe that everyone is really musical at their core, and it's often just providing a space for them to express that and for them to be themselves in that kind of musical persona, I guess. And my other answer is like there are some things in music therapy that I haven't provided because I'm not trained in that particular area.
Yeah.
Like there's neurologic music therapy, and there's specific techniques that go along with that which you need training in to administer. And then there's imagery and music, and often there's particular training which comes along with that, and that's a lot. Yeah, that's different, and so I don't offer that particular thing to my clients because I don't have that experience and that expertise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that something that you like to do in the future?
Yeah.
That sort of thing?
Yeah, I think definitely for me personally, in the near future, I think is the neurologic music therapy training, as I think that could be quite beneficial for some of my clients. I think for music therapists, it really depends on the clientele that you have and the area that you might specialise in, into what kind of extra training you might do.
And with it, I know you're not a neurological music therapist, but what are some of the benefits of that?
I think they're fantastic. We have a few Attuned Health music therapists who are trained neurologic music therapists, and they're able to work in a really directed way with their clients.
Yep.
When they know the goal that they want to achieve, they're able to use these techniques to get there, and it's really evidence-based that they should reach that goal when using these techniques. Yeah.
What I'm going to guess there are some theories behind music therapy, as in some sort of pedagogy. What are some of those that you bring into that?
I personally am very strength-based as a music therapist. As I was saying earlier, I believe that everyone has musicality within them, and so I very much believe in working with a person's strengths, and everyone has so many of them, Sometimes they can be a bit hidden,
Yep.
and sometimes they're right there. So it's just a matter of finding them and letting the person really experience them themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think my music ability is really, really repressed.
Really repressed.
Yeah, I have tried, when I was younger, I tried the piano. It's rubbish. There was no point. I also tried the drums. All I could do was make noise. Yeah, that's it was no rhyme, no reasoning. It was just bang, bang. Wow, this sounds terrible. So, yeah. But having said that, I like to think I appreciate good music. And I can appreciate the musicality of different genres, even though they might not be something that I, would pick to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'll give you an example. I'm not a big fan of death metal. However, having said that, I do appreciate there is a skill to playing those guitars that fast, and it is a very technical kind of way of doing it. It's just I'm not really into the throat singing and some of the other bits around. But then I like jazz, and that is a very technical art form. It's not too, and the similarities aren't that different from metal really, through that technicality. So that's kind of the way I appreciate music. I can see the musicianship in this, but there are aspects to this I just can't stand.
Yes, I think we definitely all have our preferences. And things that we just do not like.
I guess one thing, with music therapy, what's something perhaps in the future that music therapy doesn't bring out that could or should or would in the future?
Wonderful question. I think there is a great space for music therapy to really be embedded in particular professions or particular organisations. Like, there is such a need for music therapy still in places like hospitals and aged care and some schools even. And I think, I hope for a future where it's a lot more commonplace to have registered music therapists in these areas, because the benefits that I have seen just in my little work that I do, absolutely incredible. They're phenomenal. And I think especially in places where you might be working with a particular client, but there are other people in the space. I have seen music therapy when I've gone into, say, a group home and I've been working with one particular person. There are other people in the house. There are staff members. And the kind of secondary benefits that they get from music therapy is wonderful, is truly wonderful. And the more that people are able to be regulated and to feel safe within their space, the kind of calmer and more successful environment we can have, whether that's in a school or a hospital or an aged care facility. I think there's just so much that is not there. I think we're doing wonderful things, and the Australian Music Therapy Association has incredible people who are working so hard for more recognition of music therapy, and they are just, they're really wonderful, putting so much time and effort into what they truly believe in, what they know to help. And I think, I think the future holds a beautiful space for music therapy really being embraced by a lot of different places.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. I just thought of this question just now. If you could give me maybe like an example or a case study of the differences that you see from a client from day one to perhaps the final sessions. What kind of progress have you seen? And is that progress always linear, or is there a bit of regression as well?
I would say it's hardly ever linear. We're all human and we all go through ups and downs in our life and in our day-to-day, and especially sometimes people's diagnoses can really have an impact on can have an impact on kind of their progression in a particular area, if we're working on a particular goal. And I think a lot of the time with a lot of my clients, the kind of change that I see in them from beginning to end in music therapy is I would say unexpected, because we may start with a particular goal or a particular few goal areas that we're working towards and that we're working on. And then throughout the course of whether it's months or however long it is, they tend to change and evolve. Sometimes it's slowly, sometimes it's quite dramatically, and you go in one session and suddenly things are just different, and either the client wants different things or their capabilities have changed. And so it's just, sometimes it hits you smack in the face and you're like, oh, we are changing direction right now. And so often the change is very different to what I first expected when I start out with a client, even when, it's been a good few sessions and we've got that rapport going and we've got goals and I, really feel in the groove with music therapy and the direction we're going. Often there's some sort of shift somewhere along the way, and the goals that they end up achieving can be quite different to what we started out with. And a lot of the time it's inside the person that shifts as well, whether it be their self-confidence, whether it be their relationships with their family or with their support people. For me, those are probably the most powerful differences that I've come across.
What would you say if someone wanted to get into music therapy? How would you encourage that?
To study it?
Yeah,
to be a music therapist? Yep. I would say go for it. You do have to audition for both the University of Melbourne and Western Sydney University to get into their Masters of Music Therapy course. So you do have to have a skill level on your main instrument. For me, that was flute. Other people, it's, piano or voice or guitar or... exactly, whatever instrument. And for I went through the University of Melbourne, so I know about their audition process, and you have to have some songs learnt on guitar as well, because in Australia especially, it's quite a bit of it is... singing songs on your guitar with a very specific purpose. But so you do have to have that guitar competency a little bit to get in, but of course you grow throughout the course. Yeah, and there's so much new research that is coming out on music therapy so often. So really looking into that, finding a particular area that you might be interested in music therapy, or a particular population that you really want to work with. And I would really encourage you to just do a Google search of music therapy and, at-risk children or something like that, and really diving into what there is, and then seeing whether it, continues to create that interest within you. And if it does, definitely apply for the course. I learnt so much about music therapy within the course. I think I went into it knowing what it was, but not truly knowing what it was, And then once you get into it, you just learn so much of what it is capable of doing and the kinds of people that you can work with. It's really phenomenal.
Do you remember your audition
I do. I do indeed. So I played some pieces on the flute. I remember filming them and sending them in, because it was all filmed and sent in, and then a live audition as well. So I did that, and I filmed some guitar pieces as well. There was a Taylor Swift piece in there. I think I did some Elvis as well. Yes, diversity. And then I was fortunate enough to get through to the interviews. And so then I had an interview with two wonderful lecturers at the University of Melbourne. It was a nerve-wracking, but a beautiful experience.
Did you study in Melbourne as well?
I did not. So Melbourne University does a blended learning course where you can you study online. It's live classes, so it's through Zoom, and it's wonderful. You still somehow manage to create really close bonds with your peers. It's incredible. And then you do go over to Melbourne for some intensives, because it's a creative art that we're doing, so getting to do that in person and in live time is really wonderful. But it meant I was able to have placements in Perth, which for me was really important, because I wanted to continue living and working in Perth, and it was great to kind of see what music therapy in Perth was like, because it's different to what it is in other cities and other states. Yeah.
Interesting. So what were some of the differences that you noticed?
That I noticed? It's still growing in Perth. I think especially in places like Victoria and New South Wales where they have the music therapy course. There's just more music therapists.
Yeah.
So there are wonderful music therapists in Perth. We're a small but mighty team, and we're growing. We've got a few graduating this year who will be staying and working in Perth, and each year there seems to be more from Perth. So I think it's more of a baby in Perth than it is over east. But there's so many wonderful people that we work with and so many wonderful other allied health professionals that support us in what we do and understand what we do. Yeah.
And going with the allied health professionals, are there some that maybe, you get a bit of backlash from? Or not backlash, but, they don't understand the importance of, music therapy. And maybe that's a barrier as to why it's not included.
I think less so from allied health professionals. I think allied health professionals that I've come across are really so supportive of music therapy because they understand often. And, we may be working with the same client. And so they may see the benefits of music therapy the same way that I will see the benefits of speech therapy and I will see the benefits of physio, with my clients. They'll be seeing the benefits of music therapy as well. And so often it's really quite supported in that space.
Music therapy. Now, with obviously you play the flute.
Yes, I do.
And you obviously grown up playing the flute.
Yes.
Why does the flute resonate with you?
I don't know if this is very unique, who knows? But for me personally, the fact that I'm using my air, I'm using my breath to create the sound, and I can manipulate the sound in such a specific way, I find it's very connected to kind of who I am as a person. I feel it would be almost kind of similar to singing in that way, like I'm using my breath to create the specific sound that I want, and that can be really healing to be able to do that. And I think, it's the instrument I first picked up, and it just kind of, if I'd picked up a different instrument, it might be the same. Yeah. But flute is what I landed on when I was 8 years old, and that's what I stuck with.
And how do you find the healing process? You just mentioned it there, of musical therapy. How do you find that process evolve over time with individual clients?
Oh, with clients?
And for yourself as well.
Yeah. I think because music therapy is so relationship-based, it can often be a joint, healing process. We don't exist in isolation at all. And in music therapy where, when I'm with a client, we're musicking together, we're in it together. And although we may be specifically working through one person's healing, I am not completely separated from that. It would be, naive of me to think that I am, and to think that I don't impact that process. Yeah, so I think we as music therapists, we have to really be aware of ourselves and any transference onto clients and counter-transference and all of that, to make sure that we're helping them the best way that they can. And because music is so personal to people, the healing that they go through can be so self-directed and so self-led because it's their music, it's their creativity, it's their process. They're doing it all. I'm just supporting and helping them. And so from what I've seen in my practice, it's quite powerful when they're able to express themselves in that way and heal through their own efforts. Yeah.
Now, you play with them, even though you are a flutist.
Yes.
What are some of the other instruments, but why do you pick those for particular moments?
Yes, it's very intentional, the instruments that I use, 100%.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Often so we talked about aged care, so if I'm in an aged care setting and I might be, someone might have loved, Elvis back in the day, and I might play an Elvis song, I'll choose guitar. Elvis played guitar. It works the best that I can do with one instrument, and me being just one person, if I could do drums and guitar and bass, I would. Exactly, but I can't. So guitar is quite versatile in that way, so I often find myself using that, or keyboard quite a bit. And then there's this beautiful, it's called a reverie harp that I sometimes use. It's just a little wooden harp that sits on your lap and you can strum it or pluck it, and I'll bring that out in particular moments. Often if we're working on fine motor skills with the plucking, or even gross motor skills, getting that, the strumming motion going, because it's just got such a beautiful sound. That particular harp is in a pentatonic scale, so it can work quite well with improvisations that I might do on guitar or flute, and different instruments. And I'll bring out the flute now and then as well, because it's, I'm working strength-based with my clients, but also strength-based with myself, and it's something that I can use if they want it and if it's appropriate. And sometimes I'll give people a choice, like, what do you want to hear right now? And they might choose guitar, or they might choose me singing, they might choose me on the flute.
And it's quite interesting there. Do you find with aged care facilities, do you find there is an artist or a song that's very popular? That you go, oh, okay.
The typical one would be Country Roads.
Oh,
Country Western is always quite strong. Personally, I don't mind a bit of country western. So
Johnny Cash.
Exactly. A lot of Johnny Cash.
Okay. I would think I would have gone, if I was a betting man, I would have gone with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
He would have been.
Yeah.
And some of the,
as well.
wartime.
Oh, there's a lot of wartime music.
Sisters, I think. So that's why Country Road was not on my bingo card, but hey,
it's quite versatile song. It seems to, other ones might be popular for specific people, and then others might really have an aversion to it. But it seems that some good old country western is generally quite, a lot of Dolly as well.
Please tell me no achy breaky heart.
No, I actually have not. I don't think done any achy breaky heart that I can remember.
And what about with children? What's that process like? I assume it's very different.
Yeah, it can look quite similar from the outside, to be honest. But obviously the goals that we're working on are so different. So, for example, I might have a child who has, hypermobility, and so they need to increase their core strength. So we might do some drum playing. And then I might do the same, similar drum playing with an adult client, but we might be working on, physical arousal levels or something like that. Yeah. So it can sometimes, the instruments I use, sometimes even the songs I use, the interventions I use might be similar, but the goals are always so diverse and so unique to the person. Yeah.
And do you, when you do your first session, even though you said you kind of go in and you get kind of,
yes,
a bit blind, a little bit, but you've got information about that person.
Yeah.
Do you plan the session meticulously, or do you kind of just see how it goes and kind of change it in the middle?
Those first sessions, I don't plan meticulously. I will have a particular game plan of what I'm going to do at the beginning, and then I really go with the client, especially, sometimes you have a lot of information on them, and sometimes the goals are already set by family, and so then you kind of know what you're going to work on. But other times you go in with, their name, their age, and a genre of music that they like, and you're not really sure exactly what you're going to be working on, so then it's quite open. But even as it goes on, and when I do have a really set plan, and the assessment is done, and there's, I know what we're working on, sometimes even in the middle of a session it can change.
And sometimes with goals, I kind of think sometimes, the family may have, put these goals, or the therapist, or whoever might be, put these goals in place. But then you might come along and say, hey, these goals might not be 100, but they might look different. How do you approach that?
It can often the families are really, if it's a matter of talking to families, I mean, like, hey, look, these goals are wonderful, but we can also work on this. What do you think about that? Or actually, I've tried working on these goals with this client, and either it's not important to them, or it's not really applicable to their situation. How about we try something different? And the families that or the support staff, whoever it is that you're talking to, the ones that I've worked with have been so supportive and so welcoming of that information, because especially with music therapy, they go in not really knowing the extent that it can, the impact that it can have and what it can work on. I went into the course knowing a particular amount, and I came out 2 years later with so much more knowledge, and I'm still increasing that knowledge pretty much daily. So often the families are so open because they're like, yeah, anything you can do to help.
Alright, I'm going to give Attuned Health a bit of a free plug here. That's where you work.
That is where I work.
Now, what do you like about working with them? What kind of values or philosophies that you bring along with them?
Attuned Health is an incredible organisation, and I feel so fortunate to work in that organisation and with such wonderful, wonderful music therapists alongside me. It is so client-centred. It really puts the needs of the individual client at the forefront. And it is also super strength-based as well, the way that we work and the training that we get, in that, you know, it's the recognition that everyone is capable of probably so much more than, you know, we think ourselves or than other people think. And music therapy is an avenue that people might choose in order to explore those strengths that they have. And Attuned Health is very ecological in its approach, that it acknowledges that people do not, you know, exist in isolation. And the work that we do as music therapists, although we're working with individual clients, it's also super important to work alongside the people that see them daily. Because we might see these clients weekly or fortnightly, but there are people who interact with them every day, and if we can give them a little bit of our expertise and just give them little bits that they're able to do themselves, not having, you know, music therapy training, it's so important that we pass on that information. And that's something that Attuned Health really values, and I value so much as well as an individual. So it's just wonderful to have that support.
Yeah. What's one thing that you would like, you know, perhaps people who are not aware of music therapy at all, what would you like, maybe it's one takeaway for them to learn about music therapy?
I think the main takeaway that I would like people to learn about music therapy is that it is really very evidence-based and research-based, and everything that we do, every intervention we do, every instrument we use, every song we use has a particular purpose, has a particular therapeutic meaning behind it. It can be really fun, but that's not the purpose of music therapy. The purpose is to achieve particular therapeutic outcomes, and that's what we're working towards.
Now, do clients actually know that they're going to see a music therapist? Do the clients actually know today is going to be my session with Rachel? If their goals and things are chosen by family and other services, and sometimes they might not be consulted as well.
Often when it comes to music therapy, even if there are other goals that are set by other people, as music therapists we will work with the client and make sure that those goals are important to them. So they definitely will be we'll be aware as much as possible. Of course, each person in their individual situation and circumstance is different, but yeah, we'll be working on goals that are important to them. Yeah.
Okay, if someone was interested in working with you, how does that process work?
They can contact Attuned Health. We have a website, attunedhealth.com.au, and then they can also email us. Our wonderful director Hayley will get back to them, and yeah, they will start sessions whenever there's an appropriate availability.
Well, Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David. It has been wonderful to chat to you. Thank you so much for being interested in music therapy and wanting to have this conversation.
No worries. Thank you.